The spine-chilling and incredible life story of Commander Khalid ibn al-Walid, the commander known as the Sword of Allah. A leader who never faced defeat in any battle he entered. A warrior who never slept during wars and never let his soldiers sleep. A soldier whose body is filled with sword scars, one of Islam's greatest devotees. A genius commander who fought 100,000 soldiers with an army of only 3,000. The invincible leader, the Sword of Allah, Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, who broke 9 swords in a single battle. A commander who defeated the greatest empires of Byzantine and Sasanian. The true life story of Khalid bin Walid, one of the greatest heroes in the spread of Islam. Let's share his message with more people around the world. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and hit the like button to support. If you're ready, let's begin. The Eastern Roman and Sasanian empires had been in a hard fight for years. While the rest of the world focused on the moves of these two great powers, signs of change were blowing in Arabia, a region mostly unnoticed. This time, swords were drawn not for land or wealth, but for faith. The Muslims, under the leadership of Prophet Muhammad, and the Meccans, led by Abu Hakam, engaged in a significant battle for their beliefs. Relatives from both sides fought against one another, some leaving behind their fathers, others their brothers. After the Battle of Badr, nothing would ever be the same. The Meccans were shaken by the great victory achieved by the Muslims in the Battle of Badr. Like many of his kin, Khalid was still reeling from the loss and was deeply concerned about his brother Walid, who had gone missing on the battlefield. Contrary to all expectations, the Muslims, who until just a few years earlier could only gather secretly behind closed doors, achieved a big win in the Battle of Badr. Having been not allowed to live freely because of their faith, the Muslims left their homes and possessions behind in Mecca and migrated to Medina. Over the next 2 years, these people who were rebuilding their lives in Medina managed to form an army under the leadership of the Prophet Muhammad. Against all odds, they stood their ground against Abu Hakam, better known in history as Abu Jahl. Khalid learned that his brother Walid had been captured by the Muslims and was being held prisoner. Traveling to Medina, Khalid paid the ransom to secure his brother's release. However, during his captivity, Walid had come to know the Muslims closely, and faith had already started to grow in his heart. When Khalid heard of this, he was deeply shocked. The two brothers would part ways for now. Yes, Khalid ibn al-Walid would find himself stuck between Mecca and Medina, between Islam and idolatry, trying to find his way. Now, to fully understand the story, let us turn to Khalid's family and his early days. Khalid was born into a noble and warrior family in Mecca. He was the son of Walid ibn al-Mughira, a prominent leader among the idolaters. Following the tradition in Mecca, Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, was sent to live with a family in the desert after his birth, where he could grow up in a clean and healthy environment. At the age of 5 or 6, he returned to Mecca to live with his family. His father, who placed great importance on his son's upbringing, instilled in him values such as heroism, courage, and generosity, qualities admired by all Arabs. From a young age, Khalid was taught to take pride in his noble lineage, which was considered significant among the Arabs. Due to the duties carried out by his tribe, Khalid learned to ride horses and master the use of weapons like bows, arrows, spears, shields, and swords. He also trained in leading cavalry units and maintained a strong physique through physical activities. It is said that in his childhood, he wrestled with his peer, Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, defeated him, and even caused his leg to break. Khalid ibn al-Walid grew up in a warrior family, experiencing the harshness of the desert storms and learning the language of the stars and the hidden paths along mountain slopes. He was raised to be a warrior capable of carrying his father's legacy. Until he embraced Islam after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, Khalid ibn al-Walid fought on the side of the Quraysh. After accepting Islam, he served under the command of the Islamic State. This is the story of Khalid ibn al-Walid, who found himself at a crossroads between two cities and two beliefs. 3 months after the Battle of Badr, Mecca held immense geographical and strategic importance. Even before Islam, it was the religious center for many Arab tribes, the intersection of trade routes, and the home of the Kaaba. This significance made Mecca even more valuable for the idolaters. As those who engaged in trade, they gained substantial political and economic power. However, the Muslims' victory at Badr dealt a heavy blow to the privileges of the idolaters. On the way back to Mecca, something unexpected happened. During his captivity, Khalid's brother Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, had the opportunity to learn about Islam and had embraced the faith. Angry at this revelation, Khalid confronted his brother saying, "If you've become one of them, why did you make us pay a ransom? Do you have no respect for the memory of our father? Look at the situation you've put us in. You must abandon this immediately." Walid replied, "I have already abandoned it, Khalid, and the more I let go, the more my inner voice guided me to this path. God willing, one day you too will let go." Khalid often spoke of fighting for his honor and lineage, while his brother Walid argued that such things were temporary. Muslims were forbidden from entering Mecca, but thanks to Khalid, Walid was the only one allowed to come and go freely, despite being a Muslim. Because of Khalid's influence, no one dared harm him, and Walid could enter and leave Mecca safely. According to the plan, Walid was to rescue 2 companions who had been held captive during their migration to Medina. However, Khalid had his brother thrown into the same prison as them. Khalid couldn't silence the conflicting voices within himself. A year had passed since Badr, and the Meccan army was once again preparing for war to seek revenge and secure their trade routes. The messengers of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, soon delivered the news to Medina that the Meccan army was preparing for battle. After consulting with his companions, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, decided not to remain defensive, but instead to confront the Meccans at Uhud. At that time, battles in the Arabian Peninsula typically lacked strategic planning. However, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, introduced a new vision to the region, delivering a decisive lesson to the Meccans at Badr. Yet, Khalid, reflecting on his experience at Badr, remarked, "I considered the possibility that they wouldn't be in Mecca. I witnessed their intelligence on the battlefield. Their victory wasn't by chance. They anticipated our moves and defeated us." With this in mind, Khalid devised a different strategy. When they arrived at Uhud, the Meccans numbered 3,000, while the Muslims were only 700. However, the Muslims had arrived earlier and positioned their forces strategically, giving them an advantage. The battle began, and Khalid left the main army to search for an alternative route. Eventually, he found a path behind Mount Ainain, but Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, having analyzed the area meticulously, had placed archers on the hill to secure the position. Suddenly, the archers appeared from the hill and began striking down Khalid's cavalry, making it clear that this was a trap. At that moment, the same intelligence that had been feared at Badr was once again evident. The battle was turning in favor of the Muslims. However, as the Muslims began rushing to collect spoils of war, the archers abandoned their positions on the hill. Seizing this opportunity, Khalid maneuvered his forces around the Muslims' rear and changed the course of the battle. The Muslims were surrounded on both sides, and the focus shifted from fighting to protecting the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. The tide of the battle turned against the Muslims. Wahshi martyred Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib, may Allah be pleased with him. Musab ibn Umair, may Allah be pleased with him, was also martyred. And one by one the Muslims began to fall. Their only option now was to retreat. After the battle, something shifted within Khalid. Seeing the mistreatment of the bodies of the Muslim martyrs, he said, "I received my brother unharmed, but we cannot even endure their dead." He stared blankly at the aftermath of the battle. Disbelief has not changed, even in this century. The same atrocities inflicted on Muslim martyrs' bodies back then continue today. Yet, from among their ranks, more Khalids will emerge. They too carry merciful souls, and with their conversion to Islam, many things will change. Let's return to our topic. When Khalid returned to Mecca, Walid and the other two Muslim captives had escaped. Khalid's strength had not been enough to keep his brother detained. One of the most significant events in Islamic history was the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. The ongoing battles between Mecca and Medina came to an end with the signing of this peace treaty. Within 2 years after Uhud, the Muslims had gained complete commercial and political dominance, leaving the Meccans with no option but to agree to the treaty. This agreement granted the Muslims the right to perform Umrah and played a vital role in spreading their religion far and wide. Khalid ibn al-Walid narrates, "When the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, came to Hudaybiyah, I led the cavalry of the idolaters and set out on the road. At Usfan, I approached and came into view of the Messenger of Allah and his companions. The Messenger of Allah was calmly leading the Dur prayer for his companions. We considered launching a sudden attack on them, but it didn't happen, and it turned out for the best. The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, must have sensed what was in our hearts, because he led the Asr prayer as a prayer of fear, Salat al-Khawf, for his companions. This affected me deeply. I thought to myself, this man must be under Allah's protection." When Khalid returned to Mecca, he was torn by conflicting thoughts. The following year, when the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, came to Mecca for Umrah, Khalid avoided him and did not witness his entry into the city. It was as if Khalid was battling something within himself. He said to his companion, "I have been fighting Muhammad from the very beginning, but in doing so, I lost my brother first, and now my faith." When Khalid was alone at night, no matter how far he went from Mecca, that voice never left him. The truth, which he had feared to face, was now right in front of him. It was time to return to Mecca. Upon his return, Khalid received a letter from his brother Walid. "My brother, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, asked about you." I said, "Allah will bring him." "How strange it is for someone like you not to know Islam. I wish you could show your courage and valor on the side of the Muslims against the idolaters. This would be so much better for you. My brother, you have missed many opportunities. Do not miss what awaits you now." After reading the letter, Khalid realized that while he could not change the past, he could change himself. The idea of embracing Islam had matured within him, and the Prophet's peace and blessings be upon him, kindness toward him, despite everything that had happened, deeply affected him. Khalid recounts, "As I prepared to go to the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, I wondered who might accompany me on this journey. I came across Safwan ibn Umayyah and explained the situation to him, but he refused my offer. Then I met Ikrimah ibn Abu Jahl, and he too declined my invitation. I returned home, mounted my animal, and went to see Uthman ibn Talha. I told him that I intended to go to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to embrace Islam, and invited him to join me. Without hesitation, he agreed. At dawn the next day, we set off together. Khalid's embrace of faith and journey to Medina. When they reached a place called Hadar, they encountered Amr ibn al-As, who was also on his way to Medina to accept Islam. Together, they continued their journey and eventually arrived in Medina. Khalid dressed in his finest clothing and prepared to meet the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him. At that moment, his brother Walid came to him and said, "Hurry, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, has been informed of your arrival, and he is overjoyed. He is waiting for you now." Khalid entered the presence of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him. And when the Prophet saw him, he said, "Have you not come too late, Khalid? We have been waiting for you for so long because you are a man of great potential and faith." Khalid replied, "Here I am, O Prophet of Allah." The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "From now on, you will be one of the swords of Allah. You will neither rise for oppression nor rest in it." In the presence of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, Khalid recited the Shahada, testifying to the oneness of Allah and the prophethood of Muhammad. He then asked the Prophet to pray to Allah for the forgiveness of his past sins. The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Islam erases all sins committed before it," said the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him. Then he raised his hands and prayed, "O Allah, forgive him for all the sins he committed while striving to turn people away from your path." Khalid ibn al-Walid's conversion to Islam took place in the 8th year of the Hijrah. After embracing Islam, he settled in Medina. For Khalid, it was now time to become the sword of Allah. After becoming a Muslim, Khalid presented his sword to Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. However, the Prophet said, "This sword has served against Islam until now. From this moment on, your sword is needed for Islam." On the morning of the battle, Khalid repositioned his soldiers to create the illusion that the Romans were facing a much larger army. This tactic instilled fear in the Roman forces, just as Khalid had intended. Seizing the moment, Khalid ordered a direct attack on the enemy's center. The battle swung back and forth between the two sides, but the fierce assault by the Muslims tipped the balance. The Muslims fought with all their strength, and the leadership of the battle shifted from the Roman commander Theodore to the sword of Allah, Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid's strategy succeeded, leading the Muslims to victory. The Romans retreated, and Khalid managed to lead the remaining Muslim army safely back to Mecca. Upon his return, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, bestowed upon Khalid the title Saif Allah, the sword of Allah. It is said that during the Battle of Mu'tah, Khalid broke 9 swords. His plan not only disrupted the psychology of the Roman forces, but also caused them to act chaotically on the second day of the battle. This was clear proof of Khalid's brilliant strategy. His love for Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. One day, the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, was trimming his beard. The companions present were sharing the trimmed hairs of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. The great commander Khalid ibn al-Walid was also there. Khalid took a small portion of the Prophet's hair and beard and placed it in his turban. Wherever he went, he would carry this blessed strand with him. In every battle where he carried this sacred hair, he emerged victorious. When asked about the reason for his success, Khalid would remove his turban, show the blessed hair inside and say, "I achieved victory because of this." One day, he said to the other companions, "When I die, place these hairs under my tongue and in my eyes, so that I may appear before Allah with the blessed hair and beard of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him." When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, passed away, Khalid was among those who were most deeply affected by his loss. The matter of Surah Al-Fatiha. One day, Khalid ibn al-Walid was on a campaign in Iraq with other companions. Just as they were about to perform the prayer, the companions asked Khalid to lead it. However, since Khalid's recitation in prayer wasn't perfect, some younger companions laughed among themselves, saying, "A commander like Khalid cannot fully recite the Quran properly." This incident reached Khalid's ears. He gathered the army and addressed them. "I understand that you are displeased with my recitation, but let me tell you something. I once went to the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, 'Take this sword from me. I no longer wish to use it. I want to sit at a Quran stand and learn to recite properly.' But the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, 'No, Khalid, you will take this sword and tirelessly continue from one campaign to another.' What could I do? I would have loved to sit and become a memorizer of the Quran like you, but from one battlefield to another, leaving behind my bed, I never had the time to learn Quran the way you did. So, tell me now, what was I supposed to do?" Through his campaigns, Khalid managed to bring Syria, Persia, and Iraq under the rule of the Islamic State within just 3 years. He dedicated the remainder of his life to conquests and the spread of Islam. At the age of 47, Khalid was present during the conquest of Mecca. Throughout his life, Khalid ibn al-Walid, may Allah be pleased with him, participated in over 100 battles and never lost a single one. Khalid was not only known and revered in the Islamic world, but also recognized globally for his unparalleled military victories. The removal of Khalid ibn al-Walid by Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, during the caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, Khalid's presence drew great attention. Whenever Khalid went somewhere, people would come out onto the streets just to watch him. Over time, some Muslims began attributing their victories in battles not to Allah, but to Khalid ibn al-Walid. Khalid had spent all his wealth for the cause of Islam, but had been slightly excessive in providing for his soldiers. This prompted Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, to make a significant decision. During his caliphate, in the middle of a battle, Umar sent a letter informing Khalid that he was no longer the supreme commander, but would now serve as a regular commander. When Khalid received the letter during the heat of battle, he said, "A commander should not be replaced in the midst of a battle," and put the letter in his pocket, continuing to lead the fight until it was over. After the battle ended and victory was secured, Khalid went to Abu Ubaidah. He removed his armor, placed it on Abu Ubaidah's shoulders, and planted his 2 swords before him, saying, "Now give your orders. The soldiers are under your command." Khalid made no objections to Umar's decision. Later, Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, after listening to Khalid and realizing his point of view, appointed him as a governor. Khalid served as a governor for a year, but at the end of the 2nd year he went to Umar and said, "I am not suited to be a governor. I am a man of war." A strange death. None of the companions of the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, passed away peacefully in their beds. They either died on the battlefield or were martyred while spreading Islam in distant lands. Khalid ibn al-Walid, however, fell ill and became bedridden in Homs, Syria. Imagine a commander who had won countless victories over 14 years, now waiting for death on a bed, a fate he never desired. This great commander, who had always yearned for martyrdom, was now facing death in bed. In his final moments, Khalid said, Oh, Khalid, Khalid who could not become a martyr. Battlefields could not consume my flesh. There is no rank or status I did not achieve except martyrdom. There is not an inch of my body without a sword wound, an arrow scar, or a spear injury. How can it be that someone who spent his life galloping in battlefields to spread Islam now ends his days in a bed? I always awaited death on the battlefield, on my horse, wielding my sword for Allah against the enemy. Yet here I am, dying in bed. Then, recalling the Battle of Yarmouk, Khalid said, "Oh, the day of Yarmouk, the Yarmouk where human blood flowed like rivers in the valley. I can never forget that night, chilled by the biting frost, as I slept beneath my shield to shield myself from the pouring rain. That night, with my cavalry unit of Muhajirun, we anxiously awaited the morning to launch our attack. Oh, the Battle of Yarmouk! Even the victory at Mu'tah, where we triumphed with 3,000 warriors against 100,000 infidels, pales in comparison to you. O my kin, hold firmly to the spreading of Islam. These lands can only be protected by advancing Islam. Yarmouk was our first great battle against the Byzantines. Many more battles will follow after this. Do not fall into heedlessness. Now I feel as though I am among the neighing of horses, amidst the cries of Allah, Allah, echoing in the narrow Yarmouk valley. By Allah, I wish my Lord would resurrect me in every battle and grant me the strength to fulfill its right." Khalid's will. After a moment of silence, Khalid said, "I am declaring my will. Lift me up." They helped him stand, and he continued, "Leave me. Let the sword I have carried until now carry me instead," leaning on his sword. Then he added, "When I die, give my horse to a brave warrior who can charge into danger on the battlefield. I will die with nothing but my horse and my sword. Dig my grave with this sword, for soldiers take delight in the clash of steel." He then said, "Will I die in bed like a coward? May the homes of cowards be destroyed. May their faces never smile. While there is so much work to do, the cowards who waste their lives worrying about their homes, businesses, futures, and wealth, may sorrow always cloud their houses." With these words, Khalid ibn al-Walid left a powerful message for future generations. Shortly afterward, Khalid fell back into his bed, recited the Shahada, and passed away. The only legacy he left behind was his horse and his sword. Despite the vast work to be done for Islam, Khalid left us with this example. May Allah not make us among heedless people engrossed in worldly worries. May He make us among those who strive always for His pleasure. Every era interprets jihad differently. Bediüzzaman Said Nursi stated, "In civilized times, victory comes through persuasion," explaining that modern jihad is achieved not by the sword, but through knowledge, representation, and dialogue. During the early years of Islam in Mecca, Muslims did not use the sword. They secretly spread Islam, made efforts to convert groups to the faith, and practiced jihad through education, hospitality, and social outreach. Even when Muslims faced persecution in Mecca, they did not fight back, but displayed active patience, continuing to deliver the Quran's message through secret or public efforts. Today's conditions resemble the Meccan period of Islam. Muslims are powerless and vulnerable. Fighting today would be nothing short of suicide. Conquering disbelief through war and swords is not possible in these times. It is crucial to strive by living and embodying Islam, inspiring others to embrace the faith through persuasion. Otherwise, Muslims risk becoming pawns of so-called jihadist groups funded by entities like the United States and other nations, as revealed in WikiLeaks documents. Muslims must avoid falling into such traps, instead focusing on education and socializing with their communities to win people over. Greetings to the Khalids of our time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.